Loretta Swit, one of the stars of the hit CBS series, died today here in New York.
Captain, I know this may sound like a frivolous question, but what the hell are you doing?
MASH was more than a TV show. It was family. And when a member of that family leaves, it hurts deeply. The world knew Alda and Loretta Swit as the quick-witted Hawkeye Pierce and the sharp-tongued Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, a duo whose chemistry captivated audiences for over a decade. But behind the scenes, their bond ran even deeper. For years, Alda remained quiet about their off-screen friendship. But now, following Swit's passing, the beloved actor is finally breaking his silence. What stories did he keep private all these years? The final curtain call, Loretta Swit's passing and the world's grief. On May 30th, 2025, the world received the somber news of Loretta Swit's death. The Emmy-winning actress, celebrated for her iconic portrayal of Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan on the pioneering television series MASH, passed away peacefully at her home in New York City at the age of 87. Her representative, Harlan Bowl, confirmed that she passed shortly after noon on May 30th, and the cause was believed to be natural. The immediate and widespread nature of the reports, swiftly confirmed by her publicist, showed the profound connection the public felt to Swit, and, by extension, to the beloved series she helped define. Her passing was not merely the loss of a celebrity. It was the loss of a figure who, for millions, felt like a cherished member of their own extended family. While the immediate focus of the news was on her indelible MASH role, initial reports also acknowledged the breadth of her career beyond the Korean War setting. Loretta Swit had a long and distinguished career in both television and theater, and she was also a passionate advocate for animal rights. She became a vegetarian early in life and transitioned to veganism in 1981. Just days before her passing, Loretta Swit was still connecting with fans and celebrating the MASH legacy on social media. She posted a heartfelt Memorial Day tribute and shared a sweet birthday message to her former co-star, Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, writing, "Happy, happy birthday, Gary. Luvia tons," alongside a carousel of throwback photos from the show. Even decades after MASH ended, the bond between Loretta and her castmates never faded. In a 2022 interview marking the show's 50th anniversary, she said, "We see each other quite frequently. These aren't casual acquaintances from years ago. This is my family." She fondly recalled their very first day together, remembering the energy and excitement everyone brought to the set. That deep connection never wavered. On the 42nd anniversary of MASH's final episode, Loretta posted again, marveling at how quickly time had passed. "Where does the time go?" she wrote. "Here's to you, the global MASH family. A happy anniversary with gratitude and appreciation. Thank you from the bottom of my sweetheart." Her final messages and the outpouring of love from her co-stars after her death made it clear that their bond went far beyond scripts and sound stages. It was the kind of lifelong friendship that only comes from sharing something truly special, like working side by side on a show that touched millions and stood the test of time. This profound sense of connection, both on and off screen, is what makes Alda's recent tribute to Loretta Swit so deeply resonant. Alda's heartfelt silence broken. A tribute to a supremely talented actor. In the days following the heartbreaking news of Loretta Swit's death, fans across the world waited to hear from someone they knew had been closest to her on screen and off. And that person is Alda. At 89, the MASH star took to X to share a heartfelt message about his longtime friend and co-star. And in true Alda fashion, it wasn't just a tribute. It was a love letter to the woman who helped shape one of the most iconic shows in television history. She deserved all her 10 Emmy nominations and her 2 wins, Alda wrote, describing Swit as a supremely talented actor. But he didn't stop at praising her awards. Alda went deeper, touching on her enormous impact behind the scenes. Fans of MASH will never forget Loretta Swit as Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, the tough but big-hearted Army nurse in the beloved war comedy drama that ran from 1972 to 1983. She was one of only 4 cast members who stayed through all 11 seasons, alongside Alda, Captain Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce, Jamie Farr, Corporal Maxwell Q. Klinger, and William Christopher, Father Mulcahy. But according to Alda, Swit did more than act. She shaped her character in a way that changed the whole show. She created it, Alda said, not in the literal sense of writing it, but by pouring herself into the role and working hard to evolve Margaret from a one-note sexist stereotype into a fully human character. She worked hard in showing the writing staff how they could turn the character from a one-joke sexist stereotype into a real person with real feelings and ambitions, he explained. Alda recalled a milestone moment on set that meant the world to them both. We celebrated the day the script came out, listing her character not as Hot Lips, but as Margaret. That, for Alda, was more than just a line on a script. It was a symbol of Swit's dedication and growth, and the heart she brought to her work. Loretta made the most of her time here, he added. Fans knew Margaret and Hawkeye as the will-they-won't-they pair throughout MASH's run, though their relationship always remained platonic. But behind the scenes, Alda and Swit had a deep bond, one built on years of working side by side and helping to steer the emotional direction of the show. Swit's death came as a shock to many. Just 4 days before the news broke, she had still been active on her professional Instagram account, connecting with fans. Her sudden passing left the MASH cast, and viewers stunned and heartbroken. Jamie Farr, who played Corporal Maxwell Q. Klinger, shared a personal message of his own, calling Swit his adopted sister and expressing how deeply he would miss her. Mike Farrell, who joined the cast in Season 4 as B.J. Honeycutt, paid quiet tribute with a simple black-and-white photo of Swit and the caption, Loretta 1937-2025. Tributes also came flooding in from fans, with one particularly touching comment standing out. A nurse replied to Alda's post saying, "It's because of you guys I became a nurse, and learned that showing you're human to your patients isn't a bad thing." That one sentence speaks volumes, proving that MASH was a source of comfort, purpose, and inspiration for many. And it was actors like Loretta Swit and Alan Alda who made it so. Loretta Swit may be gone, but her legacy as Margaret, as a trailblazing actress, and as a kind, creative force, lives on. One of her greatest contributions was how she transformed a one-note character into a powerful, multi-dimensional woman. From Hot Lips to Margaret, the evolution of Loretta Swit's character. When Loretta Swit first joined the cast of MASH in 1972 as Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, she was stepping into a role that had already been painted with a very broad and frankly shallow brush. In the original 1970 MASH movie, directed by Robert Altman, actress Sally Kellerman played Margaret as a one-note character, uptight, overly strict, and mainly there to be the butt of jokes. She was often portrayed as a clueless, ditzy nurse obsessed with following the rules and caught up in a secret fling with Frank Burns. Her private moment with him being broadcast to the entire camp only added to the humiliation. When the series started, Swit actually began by mimicking Kellerman's version playing Margaret as cold, overbearing, and mostly used for laughs. But here's where things started to shift. Loretta Swit wasn't comfortable keeping Margaret stuck in that box. She saw that if the character stayed a one-joke sexist stereotype, she wouldn't survive in a show that was clearly meant to run for a while. So around the second or third season, Swit took a stand. She said, "Around the second or third year, I decided to try to play her as a real person, in an intelligent fashion, even if it meant hurting the jokes." That quote says it all. She wasn't afraid to step on a few punchlines if it meant giving Margaret more depth. Loretta Swit was never a fan of the nickname Hot Lips. In fact, she found it degrading and believed it undermined the depth her character deserved. Determined to elevate Margaret beyond a one-dimensional label, Swit didn't sit back hoping for change. She took action. She encouraged the writers to see Margaret as more than a joke or a stereotype. Because of her persistence, the character slowly evolved from a rigid caricature into a fully realized woman, one with real emotions, ambition, and a powerful sense of identity. Every big event that happened to Margaret, Swit treated it as something that would stay with her character. She never stopped developing, Swit once explained, and because of that, MASH started diving into bigger topics. Sexism, gender roles in the military, emotional trauma through Margaret's lens. That change didn't go unnoticed. Over time, Margaret became far less stiff and way more layered. The Hot Lips, this nickname, began to fade out of use. Eventually, the show referred to her more and more as simply Margaret. And that shift in name meant something. Margaret was no longer just the over-sexualized head nurse caught up in silly drama. She became a respected officer and a woman with dignity. Swit even tried to get the writers to drop the nickname altogether, and by the later seasons, they did just that. As Alda, who proudly called himself a feminist, made it clear that a lot of Margaret's growth came from Loretta Swit constantly pushing for change. Alda even recalled how the cast and crew celebrated the day a script finally listed her as Margaret instead of Hot Lips. It might have looked like a tiny change on paper, but to them, it was a major victory. That name switch meant everything. Margaret had finally stepped out of the shadow of a sexist nickname and become her own full, complex character. The transformation was so remarkable that many fans and critics agree Margaret Houlihan experienced the most character growth of anyone on the show. She went from being strict, lonely, and angry to becoming warm, strong, and emotionally open. Her early clinginess to Frank Burns, who, let's be honest, brought out the worst in her, was a big part of her original storyline. But once that toxic relationship ended, Margaret started to flourish. She even got married to a man named Donald Penobscot, though the marriage didn't last, and while the divorce hurt, it helped her grow into someone who no longer needed to define herself through a man's validation. One of the biggest turning points came in the episode The Nurses, Season 5, Episode 5. In it, Margaret finally opened up about how lonely and isolated she felt. In a powerful moment, she asked, "Has anybody ever offered me a lousy cup of coffee?" That scene showed just how vulnerable she really was under the tough exterior, and it marked the beginning of her real connection with the other women on the show. Swit later said that was the episode that really changed things for her character. Another standout moment came in the two-part episode Comrades in Arms, Season 6, where Margaret and Hawkeye find themselves stranded behind enemy lines. That intense situation forced them to rely on each other, and it led to an unexpected romantic encounter. Though the romance was short-lived, it changed their dynamic forever. From that point on, their relationship shifted from constant bickering to mutual respect and genuine friendship. By the time MASH wrapped up, Margaret wasn't just a supporting character, she was a fully fleshed-out human being. She was strong, independent, and respected by everyone around her. And Swit's performance didn't go unrecognized. She won 2 Emmy Awards for her role, in 1980 and 1982, at a time when the character was nearly unrecognizable from her original form. But the impact of Margaret's transformation went far beyond just one TV show. In the 1970s, the feminist movement was gaining momentum, and Margaret's evolution mirrored that cultural shift. Swit wasn't just playing a role, she was pushing for better representation of women on screen. She wanted female characters who had depth, agency, and emotional range, and she got it. That name change from Hot Lips to Margaret may seem small, but it spoke volumes. Hot Lips came from a place of dishonor, rooted in a joke that reduced a smart, capable woman to a body part. Dropping that nickname was a way of reclaiming her identity, moving past the old stereotype, and stepping into a more honest version of who she was. Loretta Swit's determination turned what could have been a flat, forgettable role into one of the most meaningful character arcs in TV history. She gave Margaret a soul. And in doing so, she helped reshape what women could be on television. Smart, vulnerable, flawed, brave, and most importantly, real. The unconventional love story, Hawkeye, Margaret, and the iconic kiss. The on-screen dynamic between Alda's Captain Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce and Loretta Swit's Major Margaret Houlihan was undeniably one of MASH's most compelling and complex relationships. It began with Hawkeye's borderline inappropriate teasing and Margaret's rigid adherence to military regulations, often placing them at odds. Yet, beneath the constant banter, professional friction, and ideological clashes, there was an undeniable current of mutual respect for each other's extraordinary medical genius and, eventually, a deep, evolving friendship. Their relationship was hard to define. It wasn't exactly romantic, nor was it purely professional. It was a mix of teasing, tension, admiration, and something deeper that was never fully spoken. For over a decade on MASH, Hawkeye Pierce and Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan kept audiences hooked with their back-and-forth dynamic. And even though it never turned into a traditional love story, their connection was one of the most compelling parts of the show. That unique relationship culminated in one unforgettable moment: the 35-second kiss they shared in the show's final episode. Goodbye, farewell, and amen. That kiss, seen by nearly 106 million people, was more than just a brief scene. It was a payoff that had been building for years, and it made the finale the most watched episode in television history. Often dubbed the most expensive kiss in TV history. Not for its cost, but for its emotional impact on fans who had followed their story for so long. What made that moment so powerful wasn't just the kiss itself, it was everything that came before it. The show had spent years slowly developing their relationship. They began as opponents, frequently clashing, but over time, their relationship evolved. Beneath the sarcasm and arguments, there was respect, there was care, and maybe even love, just not the kind we're used to seeing on TV. Instead of forcing them into a tidy romantic storyline, MASH let their bond grow into something more real. That slow-building tension is what made the kiss so powerful. It wasn't the start of anything. It was the perfect goodbye. Loretta Swit, who played Margaret, gave some beautiful insight into why the characters never became a full-on couple. She explained that their connection was built on a very strong love, but not the kind that leads to a traditional relationship. It was more of a deep friendship, something that mattered even more in the context of war. They became loving friends. There are different kinds of love, and there was a very strong love between them. If you look at the series over time, their relationship grew and deepened. In the beginning, Margaret thought he was a genius surgeon, so there was respect there. After they have their affair, they can't go forward with that, but they have to acknowledge the love and care that they gave to each other in that moment, she said. She also talked about the Season 6 two-parter, Comrades in Arms, which Alda actually wrote himself to explore whether Hawkeye and Margaret could work as a couple. In that storyline, they shared a night together. But Swit believed that while they had to acknowledge that love and care existed between them, going forward as a couple just wouldn't have made sense. It wasn't who they were. In her eyes, keeping them as close friends and strong teammates made their bond even more special. She said their relationship was more unique that way because it wasn't driven by romance, but by trust, shared trauma, and mutual respect. And in the middle of a war zone, those things are sometimes more important than love stories. MASH showed that not every great connection has to end in a relationship. Sometimes, just being there for each other is enough. That kind of emotional depth didn't come from the writing alone. It was also rooted in the real friendship between Alda and Loretta Swit off-screen. Alda often praised Swit for how seriously she took her role and how much heart she put into shaping Margaret's character. Swit, in return, called the cast her family. Jamie Farr and other co-stars echoed that same feeling. One moment that really captured their off-screen closeness happened during the filming of The Nurses. Swit had just finished delivering a heavy monologue, and afterward, she broke down, not in character, but as herself. The room went quiet. No one said a word. Then Alda walked over and simply hugged her. That silent gesture said everything. It wasn't about acting anymore. It was about being there for each other. And maybe that's why Hawkeye and Margaret's connection felt so real. Because it was. That authenticity made their story unforgettable. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was something deeper, something human. And in the world of television, that's rare. Beyond MASH, Loretta Swit's life of passion and purpose. While Major Margaret Houlihan remains her most iconic and enduring role, Loretta Swit's career extended far beyond the confines of the 477th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. After MASH concluded its historic run, Swit continued to showcase her remarkable versatility on both stage and screen. She starred in various television movies, including the heartwarming The Best Christmas Pageant Ever and the dramatic The Execution. Her presence graced popular episodic shows as a guest star, with appearances on beloved series such as The Love Boat and Diagnosis Murder. On the big screen, her film credits included Beer and Forest Warrior. Beyond her on-screen work, Swit maintained an active and acclaimed theater career throughout her life. She made her Broadway debut in 1975 in Same Time Next Year, and later appeared on Broadway in The Mystery of Edwin Drood. She also toured extensively with plays such as Mame and performed her highly successful one-woman play, Shirley Valentine, in various locales for many years. Despite her continued work, Swit faced the common challenge of typecasting after such a defining role. She had been offered the lead in the television series Cagney and Lacey after starring in its 1981 pilot, but contractual obligations with MASH prevented her from taking the role. While she could have pursued new starring series after MASH ended, Swit consciously opted for one-off roles and frequent game show appearances, revealing that she didn't want to feel stuck in the same role again. Perhaps one of the most profound aspects of Loretta Swit's life, beyond acting, was her unwavering dedication to animal rights advocacy. She was a passionate and outspoken champion for all animals, famously declaring, "Animals are my friends, not my food." A committed vegan since 1981, Swit used her public platform to promote adoption over buying pets and to educate people about the critical importance of spaying and neutering, condemning puppy mills as an evil blight on our society. Her activism extended to direct action, as she was among several celebrities who signed an open letter to President Reagan, advocating for the relocation of laboratory-rescued monkeys known as the Silver Spring 9 to safe facilities. Swit also founded her own animal charity, the Swit Heart Animal Alliance, an organization dedicated to reuniting dogs from Afghanistan with their human companions and matching veterans with homeless animals. Her artistic talents also merged with her advocacy in her book Swit Heart: The Watercolor Artistry and Animal Activism of Loretta Swit. This collection of animal portraits, published in 2017, saw all proceeds donated to her charity, further solidifying her commitment to animal welfare. In her personal reflections, Swit was candid about her life choices. In a 1979 interview, she stated that she always wanted to be an actress and recalled her early love for film, fostered by her mother. She also expressed a disinterest in marriage and family, stating, "I'm not interested in being married. I have a career and friends and things I care about doing. I don't want a lot of other demands." She credited Alda with helping her feel not guilty anymore about not wanting a family, considering her parents and friends as her family. While she later married actor Dennis Houlihan, whom she met on MASH in 1983, they divorced in 1995, and she never had children. Swit's story was one of fierce independence and unwavering devotion to her craft. But she wasn't the only one on MASH who left a lasting impression far beyond the screen. While her life spoke to the power of choosing passion over convention, her closest co-star carved out a legacy rooted in empathy, intellect, and humor. Alda's enduring legacy and personal journey. Alda, born Alfonso Joseph d'Abruzzo, has carved out an extraordinary and multifaceted career that extends far beyond his iconic role as Hawkeye Pierce. His journey began long before the 47th. In the 1950s, he honed his craft in improvisational comedy with groups like the Compass Players and Second City. His early career saw him make his Broadway debut in Purlie Victorious in 1961 and earn a Tony nomination for his performance in the musical The Apple Tree in 1966. He also appeared in early films such as Paper Lion, 1968, and The Mephisto Waltz, 1971, and was a regular on television's pioneering political satire show, That Was the Week That Was. Alda's personal experiences also deeply shaped his artistic convictions. He served 6 months in the U.S. Army Reserves after college, stationed in Korea, where he was notably in charge of a mess tent. While his military service was brief and uneventful compared to the direct combat experiences of many, it instilled in him a profound understanding of the gravity of war. He observed soldiers staring blankly or idly playing with their food, stunned by their experiences, which informed his desire for MASH to portray the brutal reality of war. Alda was concerned that the show might devolve into mere hijinks at the front, and insisted to co-creators Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds, both veterans themselves, that they wanted to do a show in which the war was seen for what it is, a place where people are badly hurt. This commitment to realism, even within a comedic framework, became a driving force behind MASH's anti-war stance and its ability to deliver heartfelt moments alongside its humor. During his time on MASH, Alda became a significant creative force, influencing the show's tone and direction. He wrote 19 episodes and directed 32, including the record-breaking series finale, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. He is the only person to have won Emmy Awards for acting, writing, and directing for a single series. Under his increasing creative control, MASH gradually shifted from a traditional service comedy to a more serious, dramatic show that openly addressed political and social issues. His commitment to character development extended to his co-stars, as he reportedly helped shape characters like Charles, Margaret, Father Mulcahy, and Klinger, and even fought to keep William Christopher, Father Mulcahy, on the show. Alda's improvisation skills, evident from his very first scene as Hawkeye, where he spontaneously hugged a nurse to get into character, further contributed to the show's authenticity and heart. After MASH, Alda's career diversified impressively. He continued to star in and direct films, including The Four Seasons, 1981, Sweet Liberty, 1986, and Betsy's Wedding, 90. He earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Martin Scorsese's The Aviator, 2004, and appeared in critically acclaimed films like Crimes and Misdemeanors, 1989, Bridge of Spies, 2015, and Marriage Story, 2019. On television, he garnered another Emmy for his recurring role as Senator Arnold Vinnick on The West Wing, 2004 to 2006, and had roles in 30 Rock and Ray Donovan. Alda also made significant contributions to science communication. For 14 years, he hosted the educational PBS show Scientific American Frontiers. In 2009, he co-founded the Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science at Stony Brook University, where he helps scientists learn to communicate more effectively with the public using improvisational theater exercises. In 2018, Alda publicly announced his diagnosis with Parkinson's disease, which he had been managing since 2015. Despite the challenges, he maintains a remarkably positive attitude, stating he is making progress and is always looking for the funny side. He views managing the disease as almost a full-time job, constantly finding a new way to do something and likening it to a game where he solves problems and feels like $1,000,000. Alan Alda's strength and passion for life, even while facing health issues, show just how lasting his impact is. As an actor, a voice for others, and a truly inspiring person. It's impossible to talk about Alan and Swit's legacy without remembering the show that made it all happen. The enduring legacy of MASH. MASH, the television series that aired from 1972 to 1983, was nothing short of a groundbreaking cultural phenomenon, fundamentally altering the landscape of American media. It mixed sharp comedy with the emotional weight of a war-zone medical drama. Sure, it made people laugh, but it also made them think and, more importantly, feel. Set during the Korean War, but clearly influenced by the Vietnam War era, it mixed humor with satirizing war, challenging authority, and digging into real issues like PTSD, sexism, racism, and the psychological toll of constant violence. The influence of MASH opened the door for other shows to tackle serious topics while still being funny. Series like Murphy Brown, Designing Women, Scrubs, and Hill Street Blues followed its lead, blending humor with heartfelt, often difficult truths. But success had its flip side. Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John, and McLean Stevenson, who played Henry Blake, left early, reportedly feeling overshadowed by Alda's rising star. Still, the show adapted, just like its characters did in the middle of chaos. The ever-changing cast actually mirrored the reality of war, where nothing stays the same for long. Then came the finale. Goodbye, farewell, and amen. When it aired in 1983, nearly 106 million people tuned in. It was a record breaker. Streets were empty. the country paused to say goodbye. That final episode still holds the record for the most watched episode of broadcast TV in history. Were Alda and Loretta Swit simply playing roles? Or did their connection as Hawkeye and Margaret reveal something deeper about real-life love, friendship, and human connection? Leave your answers in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.